At 2:19 a.m., the neighbor's motion-activated floodlight clicked on. Again, that was the third time since midnight. The first time, I told myself it was a raccoon. The second, maybe the wind caught a branch. But the third? That's when I stood up from the couch, still wearing yesterday's work polo, and checked the window. Nothing. Just empty pavement and the humming silence of a suburban night. Except one thing was different. Her car still wasn't in the driveway. That's when I opened the front door. Not to go anywhere. Just to feel something. And there it was, the scent of someone else's cigarette. We don't smoke. None of our friends do either. But it was there, faint, stale, like someone had been standing at the end of the lawn watching the house, waiting. I went back inside, sat down, and stared at the fireplace like it might give me answers. She was supposed to be home for dinner. I made pesto. Her favorite. She'd texted me at 5:06 p.m. Running late. Be back soon to hearts. That was 9 hours ago. I didn't call. I didn't text again. Not after last time. Because last time, she said I was smothering her. And when I asked her where she'd been that night, she said, I don't owe you a minute by minute. So instead, I waited. Like an idiot. Like a loyal, over-trusting idiot. By the time it was 3:12 a.m., I was still sitting in the exact same spot. Pesto cold. Wine untouched. Wedding photo on the mantel tilted slightly, like even it didn't believe in us anymore. That's when I noticed her spare phone. The old one she said was just for emergencies. She never used it. But something about the silence made me grab it. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe a clue. Maybe nothing. What I found. A single photo. Dated that same night. Taken inside a house I didn't recognize. And in the corner of the mirror, her reflection, smiling. Wearing the dress she told me no longer fit. With a man's arm wrapped around her waist. The photo was deleted 2 minutes later, but not before the cloud backup caught it. By 3:27 a.m., I wasn't shocked anymore. I was hollow. So I stood up, packed one bag, took the backup drive, and left my ring on the piano keys. She never played piano. It was always mine. And then I left. No note. No goodbye. Just silence. When she came back the next evening, I wasn't there. But I hope she noticed the neighbor's light flicking on. Because this time, it wasn't the wind. It was karma, turning to look her dead in the face. I didn't go far that night. I just couldn't. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even have a place to sleep. I sat in my car 3 blocks away, engine off, lights dimmed, watching the house from a distance like some forgotten ghost. I must have looked insane. A grown man gripping the steering wheel with both hands, watching his own front door like it belonged to a stranger. And then, at exactly 6:04 p.m. the next day, her silver sedan pulled into the driveway. My breath caught. Her face. I could see it clearly in the side mirror as she stepped out. No guilt. No confusion. Just calm. She adjusted her hair, stretched like she'd just come back from yoga, and walked up the path as if she hadn't vanished into thin air for 24 hours. She even paused by the rose bush she always hated, picked off a dead bloom, and flicked it aside like it annoyed her. That was the moment it hit me. She wasn't hiding it. Whatever she did, wherever she wasn't afraid of being caught. She'd already made peace with it. Or worse, she thought I'd just take her back anyway. I didn't go up to the door. I wanted to. God, I wanted to barge in, scream, demand answers, hold up that photo and shout, "Who the hell is he?" But I didn't. Because deep down I knew. I knew this wasn't something she'd explain. She'd justify it. That's worse. Instead, I stayed in the car until the lights in the bedroom turned on. Then off. Then the bathroom. She was moving around in our home, my home, like it still belonged to her. Maybe it did. Legally, anyway. But emotionally? Spiritually? No. I'd left that house the moment I saw that photo. I checked the cloud backup again, just to punish myself more, I guess. There were more photos I hadn't noticed before. Not of him, never his face. Just hotel rooms. Wine glasses. A blurry shot of her in that same black lace top she swore she threw away 2 years ago because it was too racy now. Yeah, racy for me, I guess. One photo had a timestamp that perfectly matched the night she said she was visiting her sister out of town. The same night, I stayed up with a migraine, and she never once answered her phone. She came home that morning with breakfast in hand and a story about traffic on the 405. I believed her. Like an idiot. By 9 p.m., I was parked at a cheap extended-stay motel, one of those places with questionable carpets and vending machines that only half work. I laid on the stiff mattress with Montgomery snoring beside me and stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out what the hell came next. I wasn't angry. Not really. I was just broken. Like someone had quietly reached into my chest over the past year and twisted everything I trusted until it tore. And I let it happen. I wanted to believe she was tired, that she was stressed, that it wasn't me. But now I knew the truth. It wasn't me. It was never about me. It was about her chasing something she didn't have the courage to admit she wanted. And by the time she walked into that house again, I wasn't just gone physically. I was gone in every way that mattered. And that's when I made the decision. Not to confront, not to plead, but to disappear entirely. The motel room smelled like burnt coffee and cleaning spray, but it was safer than home. I kept my phone on silent and didn't check for messages. Honestly, I wasn't even sure if I wanted her to notice I was gone. I think part of me wanted her to come home, see the empty closet, the missing bag, the dog's leash gone, and just shrug. That would hurt less than pretending to care. The next morning, I went back. Not to talk, just to grab the last few things I didn't want her to destroy or throw away out of spite. She hadn't texted, not even once, which told me everything I needed to know. If I went missing for a day, she'd have called the cops, hospitals, maybe even posted some crying video begging for help. Me? I vanish, and she doesn't blink. I parked 2 houses down, slipped around the back gate, and entered through the basement. She never locked it. That part always bugged me, her careless sense of security, but now, it worked in my favor. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I didn't call out. Just moved fast and light, grabbing my laptop, my external drives, a few photos I didn't want her to keep out of convenience or guilt. That's when I noticed it. The drawer under the guest room dresser. The one she said was jammed shut and not worth fixing. Except it wasn't jammed anymore. It slid open easily, like it had been used recently. Inside were things that didn't belong. Not in that room. Not in our life. A folded t-shirt that wasn't mine. Cologne. A phone charger with a frayed cord. A half-used bottle of massage oil we'd never bought. And tucked under all of it, a crumpled envelope with my name on it. Written in her handwriting. Sloppy. Like she wrote it in a rush. I didn't open it. Not yet. I sat on the edge of the guest bed, heart pounding, staring at that envelope like it might explode. Who leaves a letter addressed to their husband in a hidden drawer? Who even writes letters in 2025? Finally, I opened it. There were only 4 lines. Milton, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could control it. But I can't anymore. No name. No confession. Just a coward's goodbye without actually leaving. I folded the letter back up, shoved it in my pocket, and sat there, numb. She had planned this. Not the affair, that was obvious. But the way I'd find out. She was preparing for the moment. She probably thought I'd find it after she left me. After she'd set up her new life. But I beat her to it. I didn't take anything else. Just left the way I came in, feeling like a ghost in the shell of a life I'd built brick by brick. As I walked past the living room, I saw something that stopped me cold. My wedding ring. On the coffee table. Not mine, hers. She'd taken it off. Left it there like a message. Like the final word. But she didn't know I'd already left mine on the piano the night before. We were 2 cowards playing chicken with a marriage that had already crashed. Only now, the wreckage was undeniable. I didn't drive straight back to the motel after leaving the house. My hands were shaking too much. I pulled into a grocery store parking lot, turned off the engine, and just sat there in silence. Montgomery was curled up in the passenger seat, snoring softly, completely unaware that his human was unraveling like a loose thread. That letter, if you could even call it that, kept burning a hole in my pocket. I took it out again, as if maybe I'd missed a hidden message, a clue, a name. But no, it was just cowardice in cursive. For vague, pathetic lines. No signature. No explanation. Just guilt without accountability. I started scrolling through her social media. Something I never did before. I never needed to. But now I was looking at everything with new eyes. New suspicion. Her posts had become fewer over the last few months, but one from 3 weeks ago stood out. A photo of a wine glass on a rooftop at sunset. No caption, just a heart emoji. The weird part, the angle. It wasn't taken by her. She was in the reflection on the glass, barely visible, but there. And next to her, a man's silhouette. I zoomed in. He had a tattoo on his forearm. Something clicked. My stomach dropped. I opened my email and searched for one of her past company holiday party photos. I remembered her coworker, the one she always said was just annoying and trying too hard. His name was Everett. I didn't like him the second I met him. Arrogant. Smug. Too many compliments aimed just over my head. There he was in the photo. Same tattoo. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Then, without thinking, I did something reckless. I messaged his wife. I had her info from the Christmas card Darla insisted we send 2 years ago. I didn't say much. Just this. Hey, this is Milton, Darla's husband. I think we should talk. Privately. No drama. She responded in 8 minutes. I was hoping someone would say something. Let's meet. We picked a coffee shop 2 towns over. Neutral ground. Quiet. I showed up early, jittery, with bags under my eyes and 3 different draft texts in my phone that I never sent. When she arrived, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked tired. Not just physically, soul tired. Her name was Jenna, and she already knew. She didn't even ask why I reached out. Just opened her purse, pulled out her own stack of printed photos, and dropped them between us like a court exhibit. Hotel receipts, text screenshots, a calendar with dates circled. Her voice barely cracked as she spoke. They've been meeting at a rental in Riverton every other Thursday since February. She told him you're emotionally distant, that she's trying to leave you. He told me I'm too controlling and he needs freedom. It's all rehearsed. They've got a whole act. I sat there, blinking. My tongue felt dry. Every word felt like it scratched my throat on the way out. So, they've just been what? Lying to our faces? Pretending this whole time? Jenna gave a bitter smile. No, Milton. They stopped pretending a long time ago. We're the ones who pretended not to notice. That line hit harder than anything. We didn't cry. We didn't yell. We just sat there, 2 abandoned people in a strip mall coffee shop, watching our lives collapse neatly in front of us. Then she said something I'll never forget. I've got a plan. I'm not asking you to join. But if you want the truth, the whole truth, you're going to have to be willing to see how deep it goes. And just like that, the story stopped being about heartbreak and started becoming a plan. We didn't shake hands when we left that coffee shop. There was no sense of victory. Just 2 people walking back to their cars with more weight on their shoulders than they arrived with. But Jenna had lit a fuse, and I wasn't about to let it fizzle out. I spent the next 3 days sleeping in my car behind a closed-down video store. Not because I had to, but because I couldn't stomach going back to the motel. Everything felt filthy. Everything reminded me of her, Darla, and the way she used to hum while brushing her teeth, or how she always turned the thermostat up when I wasn't looking. Those details became weapons now. They hurt. But during those nights, I went digging. Quietly. Carefully. And when I say digging, I don't mean snooping through her phone or checking her emails. I mean I tore through everything I never thought I'd touch. Credit card statements. Cloud backups. Old delivery records. Even that stupid budgeting app she begged me to install 2 years ago when we tried saving for a cabin up north. That's how I found it. A payment that didn't make sense. Monthly. Small. Always recurring. Labeled vaguely as Cedar Vault Rentals. She never mentioned a storage unit. Never once. We barely had enough junk to fill the garage, and she hated clutter. So naturally, I went. It was about 25 minutes from town, out near the industrial lots, where everything smelled like hot tires and cheap pizza. The kind of place where nobody makes eye contact and cameras barely work. I wasn't even sure what I was hoping to find. I guess I thought maybe there'd be love letters, hotel keys, some cliché physical proof that would make everything real. What I found instead shattered me. The key code still worked. The metal door groaned as it rolled up, and at first I thought I was in the wrong unit. Because it wasn't boxes or forgotten furniture. It was a couch, a mini fridge, a rug, a lamp. It was a second life. In the middle of the storage unit, someone had created a fake living room. It was hers. Darla's. I recognized the wine glasses. The blanket she swore got ruined last winter. Her favorite candle, burned halfway through. And worst of all, a second framed photo of us. But cropped. Only her. My face had been cleanly cut out. I stared at it for so long that my knees started to buckle. This wasn't just an affair. This was an exit strategy. She was building a world without me in it, piece by piece, in some cold storage box behind a used tire shop. I backed out, slammed the door shut, and drove until my hands stopped shaking. Then I did what no man in his right mind wants to do. I called her. She answered on the second ring, her voice too casual, too fake. Hey, you okay? Where are you? I've been kind of worried. I didn't even respond to the lie. I just said Cedar Vault. Unit 143. How long have you been planning to erase me? Silence. For 5 full seconds. Then her voice cracked. How did you? I'm not stupid, Darla. Just slow. But I'm caught up now. More silence. I could hear her breathing. Shaky. Caught off guard. Maybe even scared. But not for me. For herself. Then she whispered something I'll never forget. You weren't supposed to find it yet. Not never. Not at all. She was just buying time. That's when I knew. Whatever love we'd once had wasn't just over. It had been replaced. I hadn't heard from her since the call. After I said Cedar Vault, and she whispered that I wasn't supposed to find it yet, she hung up. Just like that. No crying. No apology. No begging. Just dead air. And after all that silence, I made the worst mistake possible. I waited. I should have left town. Should have blocked her number, erased her scent from my car, driven 3 states away, and started over somewhere people still smile with their eyes. But instead, I waited. And the next night, she came. Not to the motel. Not to the car. She showed up at my brother's house. Yeah, I'd been crashing there for a few nights after everything with the storage unit. My brother Roy doesn't ask questions. He just handed me a key and grunted something about getting my head right. But when I walked into the kitchen that night, there she was, sitting at the table like she belonged there, sipping coffee from a mug that wasn't hers. The moment I saw her, my blood went cold. She was wearing it. The dress. The one from the storage unit. I remembered it instantly. That silky teal thing I hadn't seen since our 3rd anniversary. I asked her about it once. She told me she'd donated it. But here it was, hugging her body like some twisted time capsule. And she was smiling like this was just a normal night. Hey, Milt, she said casually, like we were meeting for brunch. We need to talk. I stood there for a moment, half expecting Roy to walk in with a bat. But he wasn't home. He'd gone to pick up his kid from gymnastics. You broke into my second life, she said, more annoyed than ashamed. That was supposed to be mine. I blinked. Second life? Is that what we are now? Versions you can swap out and store in boxes? She leaned forward, that familiar flicker of superiority in her eyes. No, that was the real life. The one where I felt like myself again. With him. There it was. She said it. Him. No more hiding behind half-truths and hotel receipts. No more gaslighting me into thinking I'd imagined it all. She looked me straight in the eye and confessed, with no tremble in her voice. It wasn't about hurting you, she continued. It was about finally feeling alive. You were just fading, Milton, like wallpaper. I felt like I'd been slapped. No, punched. Repeatedly. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Every comeback I'd rehearsed in my head disappeared. I stood there, stunned, while she stood up, smoothed her dress, and walked toward the door. I'm not here to win you back, she said before leaving. I'm here to tell you I've made my choice. I'm not sorry for wanting more than what you gave. She left the mug on the table, lipstick smeared on the rim, and walked out of Roy's house like she hadn't just carved out the last shred of my dignity and set it on fire. But what she didn't know was this. I wasn't just collecting pain anymore. I was collecting proof. Because right after the storage unit discovery, Jenna had planted a quiet little seed, an idea I hadn't been brave enough to act on until now. And thanks to Darla showing up in that dress, with that arrogance, and dropping the words, with him, so easily, she gave me exactly what I needed to light the match. After she walked out of my brother's house, I didn't move for what felt like an hour. I just stared at that lipstick-stained mug, thinking about how casual she was. Like I was a discarded receipt. Like she'd just delivered a weather report, not the final death blow to our marriage. But what she didn't realize was that I'd already stopped playing the part of the heartbroken fool. Her little visit wasn't a victory. It was confirmation. She admitted it. Gave me everything I needed. So the next morning, I met Jenna again. She'd been busy, more than I knew. While I was wallowing in grief, Jenna had been collecting phone logs, work calendar overlaps, GPS tags from their shared rides to conferences, even a signed rental agreement for the Riverton house in Everett's name, with Darla listed as an additional occupant. She found it buried in county records under a fake LLC. Sloppy, arrogant, and traceable. Jenna slid the papers across the diner table like a woman who'd waited months for this exact moment. They thought we'd just cry and disappear, she said. But we're not doing that, are we? I shook my head. My hands were still trembling, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was adrenaline. Focus. I finally had purpose again. We planned everything down to the day. I waited 2 more weeks. I let Darla live in her illusion. I let her think I was quietly licking my wounds, defeated and small. She didn't reach out again, not even to check in. And I didn't expect her to. She was already gone, even if her mail was still showing up at Roy's. Then came the charity auction. Every year, Darla's firm hosted a fundraising gala for some environmental initiative. Lots of glass clinking, designer dresses, fake smiles. Everett would be there, obviously. It was public enough to feel safe, but personal enough that she'd never expect me to show. I didn't RSVP. I didn't tell a soul. But I walked in anyway, wearing the same suit I wore at our wedding. Just to make a point. They didn't see me at first. I stood near the back, behind the tall floral arrangements, watching. And then I saw them. Everett had his hand on the small of her back. She was laughing, that breathy, fake laugh she used to give me when she wanted something. They looked like the picture of elegance, of success, of everything I wasn't, apparently. But here's what made my stomach twist. She was wearing the same teal dress again. Like a trophy, like a warning, or maybe a signal. This is who I really am now. That's when I stepped forward. She saw me before he did. Her face cracked, just for a second. That half-second of frozen shock, like the floor moved beneath her and she wasn't prepared. And I lived in that second. It was the only moment in months that I truly felt like I had oxygen in my lungs. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't scream or cry. I just handed her an envelope. Inside, copies of everything. The GPS logs, the rental contract, the photos, and the typed-up statement of our legal separation, signed only by me, dated that morning, and delivered with a clause she didn't expect. She gets nothing. No house. No car. No savings. It was all protected. All locked down after Jenna introduced me to a ruthless divorce attorney who'd seen cases like this 100 times. Darla took the envelope with a trembling hand. Everett looked confused, then smug, then very pale when he glanced at the documents. I didn't wait for them to speak. I turned and walked away, not out of rage, but with something I hadn't had in months. Control. 3 weeks after the gala, my phone buzzed at 1:11 a.m. Her name lit up the screen. I didn't answer. She called again 2 hours later. Left a voicemail this time. I didn't listen. Whatever she had to say, it was too late. She'd had months, years, really, to speak to me honestly. But the only time she looked me in the eye was when she thought I was too broken to fight back. Now she was calling. Because she finally understood that I wasn't waiting anymore. I heard from Jenna later that week. Everett had been dumped, hard. His wife served him in front of his office with a crowd watching. She got the house. He got a lease on a studio apartment near the train tracks. Karma doesn't always knock. Sometimes it kicks the door in. As for Darla, she kept trying. Quietly, of course. A forwarded email asking if we could talk things through like adults. A mutual friend mentioning she was asking about me. Even a letter, an actual handwritten letter, that arrived at Roy's house one Tuesday morning. I opened it, but I didn't need to read past the first line. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. I folded it neatly, put it back in the envelope, and tucked it away in a drawer I no longer opened very often. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because it no longer hurt. That version of me, the man who begged her to come home, the one who blamed himself, who thought maybe pesto and back rubs could save a dying marriage, that guy was gone. I moved out of Roy's a week later. Found a small house with a screened-in porch and enough space for Montgomery to have a yard of his own. I planted tomatoes. I bought a second-hand record player. I didn't chase happiness. I built something steady, something quiet, something mine. And in that peace, something unexpected happened. I met someone. Her name's Cora. She's not flashy. She doesn't wear heels just to prove a point or post vague stories meant to make someone jealous. She's kind. She asks questions. She actually listens to the answers. I told her everything. No filters, no pretending to be someone cooler or more confident than I am. She didn't flinch. She said, "You've been through hell. But look at you. You walked out of the fire." And for the first time in years, I believed it. So if Darla ever drives past the house, and I bet she will someday, curiosity always wins. I hope she sees the porch light on, and hears music playing from inside, and realizes something very simple. She didn't break me. She freed me.